Right, now let's get on to Adriatic. We did a piece on them the other day. So Adriatic have the Vares. Is that how you pronounce it, JD?
I think it might be Vares.
Vares mine, polymetallic deposit under development at the moment in Bosnia. So, and it's a very, very interesting project. We talked about it the other day. So we've got two of the main men that are in Bosnia as we speak, coming on to give us a bit of in-depth in the crux insight.
That's right. So we've got CEO Paul Cronin and GM of Ops Matt Hine coming on the show to sort of chat through the construction phase at Adriatic.
And we've got them on the blower right now. Paul and Matt, thanks for coming on Money and Mine, lads. How are we?
Pretty good, mate.
Good. Thanks for having us, guys.
You wouldn't get too many podcast call-ins from Bosnia too often, do you? Is it a bit unconventional for a Friday morning over there?
Oh, look, we get a few of them actually out of London and Spain.
The bloody competitors.
So we've done a little bit this week already.
Certainly none of your calibre though, Matt. So
we're off to this
one. There's a sweet talk.
That's all right. Yeah, we haven't got Travia today to bloody grill you, so you don't have to even butter us up today. So she's all good.
So I think we've been making some mistakes right off the bat. How do you say Vares? Is it Vares or Vares?
Vares with a SH sound.
There we go. And the deposit as well. How are we saying that one?
Oh, that's like a pizza. So Repizza.
Repizza. And while we're at it, what else did we bugger up in the first episode that we did on Adriatic? You may as well get it out now. You may as well grill us for a change.
Well, firstly, props to JD for covering us. You're certainly our favourite of the trio, mate. So keep on watching.
Appreciate it, guys.
You got most things right. LSE listed, yes, but don't forget we're also dual listed down there. So there's some Aussie roots. The barite piece, yeah, plenty of that, although we didn't ascribe any value to it in the MPV calc, so that's some upside for us. But
yeah,
look,
we did figure out that mistake afterwards. Yeah, JD did pick up on that, so we thought we'd get it out straight away, and we do apologise.
I'll sling that one to a Trav. I think he chipped in on that, but that's all right.
Yeah, that's a good part of the team on a podcast. Hey, you can share
other people to blame.
Well, it's funny. It's good the bits we have to edit out that don't get shown, but I'll give you a laugh after he said the barite thing. I'm like, Trav, what the hell is bloody barite? He's like, I don't know. Well, there you go. Barite? What is? While we've got you, use of the gurus. What is barite?
Well, mate, if you ask the Saudis, they'll tell you it's the most important commodity in the world because it's basically a blowout preventer on oil drilling. So it's a densifying agent that they use in all oil and gas exploration and production. So that's the biggest demand for the product. Where you get the most value ascribed to the product is actually in some of the industrial uses. So they use it in medicine. You know, when they shove that drink down you in X-ray where it's going through the gut, that's barite. Tastes like shit. And then it's primarily used in high-end manufacturing, so brake pads, certain paints, etc. So there's a big market for it, particularly in Central Europe, in Germany, Czechoslovakia, Austria. But it's got to have the right attributes depending on what you want to use it for. And then we would be producing a huge amount of it. And there isn't a market big enough for that to justify the cost and the logistical headaches that would come with moving, 200,000 plus tonnes a year of this stuff on a railway line through the mountains down to a port and off to wherever. So we decided we would basically build the project without the barite circuit. That cut a bit of capex out, cut out a lot of OPEX as well for us. And if in the future we find that there is a market for that barite, we can easily add that circuit back in. We've allowed for it in the plans. But at the moment, that stuff's making great paste for the backfill.
So with the barite, if you don't have that circuit in, do you are you able to stockpile it separately, or do you lose it forever, or you only get it out of new areas of the ore body? How's that going to work if you do include it later on?
No, it'll be largely getting. There'll be some that we can access from the tailings facility, but largely it'll be extracting it from the mine in the future once we've decided to build that circuit. But I think that's highly unlikely, guys. To be honest with you, there's so many other sources of barite available. The one thing that has happened with barite, it's been added right to the top of the European critical minerals list. And so we've got a group going to Brussels to just sort of understand what impact that might have on us, and whether that means that there's going to be a desire for someone in Europe to buy it and stockpile it anyway. So there may be some value attributable to it.
Yeah. Now let's get in. We went over the project. I wouldn't say in immense detail, probably not to your guys' standards the other day. But look, there's a absolutely stonking drill here you've just released for your project. So I'm reading it, 17.5 metres at 2,000 grams per tonne silver equivalent, or 65.5% zinc equivalent. Absolute stonking. So, and I've heard from a little birdie on Hay Street, you had to get this re-assayed because it was that high and you were unsure it was assayed correctly.
Well, we round robin a random amount of assays anyway. But I guess over the last 6 years, every time I've seen something like that come back in, I've been a bit cautious and send it off for a second go. I don't want to rush it out and then come back later and go, that was a mistake. So, yeah, we did get that one reassayed. We threw the XRF over it straight away. But look, you can visually tell that's exceptionally high grade. And you could be blind and still tell it's high grade just by the mass of it.
So if you're going to compare, because the mine that comes to mind with grades that you're looking at is Cannington in Australia. Are your grades, would you say they're comparable? Look, Cannington back in the heyday, I've got 2005, they were 18 million tonne at 10% lead and 477 grams silver. But the grades you guys are seeing, is that pretty up there with one of the highest grade polymetallic mines in the world we're seeing at the moment in the current day?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't think of a high grade polymet out there actually. And what we are seeing is we continue to unravel the structural geology here. We're finding more and more zones of high grade material. So this drill hole results we put out last week, that was a whole new zone of material. Now, we only put out one drill hole into it, but we have drilled others into it now, which we're waiting the assay results on. And as I said to you, you don't need to be a geologist to know that this is high grade. You just go down and pick up the core and you can feel it. But what it is devoid of barite. And so, basically we think the metals have basically pushed the barite out. So it's really quite interesting. It's throwing open the whole geologic model. The guys who are down in the core shed are pretty pumped about this stuff. And we're watching it very, very closely, every day, what the lithology looks like as they get closer and closer to those zones.
I think when you look internationally, guys, you spoke about Cannington. The DFS we did 2021, we're already at the lowest end of the equivalent cost curve. And, that was on the basis zinc 4 to 8%, lead 3 to 5%, and silver 200 grams per tonne on an all equivalent of around 469. And you'd see the results we're putting out are exceeding that. Like, we haven't released a resource model update. I think it'll by next week or the week after be 1,000 days. Yeah, we've had 3 rigs going non-stop throughout that time, and it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So, like Paul said, we're really pumped to be able to put something out mid-year with an update. We've had plenty of people come to site, and it's quite cool seeing them try and run the back of the napkin numbers and what it could be, and running out of space in the napkin.
When I first started drilling here in 2017, I was working with a geologist, an old mate of mine from Perth called Bob Annett. And Bob planned out the drill program, but, just trust the banker to decide where the next hole should go, right? So we put in this perler, 35% zinc, 65 metres, absolutely great hole. First hole we've drilled up here. Second hole, I said to the guys, stick it here because I'm pretty sure that this is moving in this direction. and we hit nothing, absolutely nothing. I drilled it to 400 metres, absolutely zero. Last hole I ever planned. But, we've got this cut-off date for the end of April for our drilling to go into the new resource update, which is due out in July. And I asked the guys to drill me another little bit of a Hail Mary. Just tell me how far this lower zone goes. Now, that drill hole was just about to hit target depth when the rods got stuck, and they've decided they're going to have to re-drill it. But I'm so excited about that hole, just looking at the lithology of it, in the lead up to where we interpreted the mineralised zone to be, that I've deferred that cut-off date to allow that hole to be incorporated. That's the sort of dynamicism of this deposit and how much it's constantly changing on us, but it's always delivering positive surprises.
So just one more on the exploration side of things, guys. You've referenced in a couple of the recent announcements a sort of gap between Rapitza and North West. So what are the chances that sort of system hangs together? How does the technical team sort of feel about that at the moment?
Well, the holes that we drilled on the gap zone were on the up dip portion, which is typically the skinny part, shallower and slightly to the west. The holes we're drilling now are on the down dip portion of that, and what it is showing is there's pretty good continuity between the main ore body and the northwest zone, and the holes that we drilled in 2020 in that area just had the wrong azimuth and we missed it. But that's the nature of this deposit. It's pretty easy to miss, but when you hit it, you know about it.
And close to the mine plan at the moment in Rapitza, so really from where the capital development is going in, it's from one end of Optus Oval to the other. It's going to be so close. Natural extensions and all our existing infrastructure is already going to be sunk around there, so we could be bringing it in quite quickly.
So also in the recent quarterly, production got pushed back 5 weeks to November of this year, although there was a reference that there was an option to potentially bring in portable crushers and sort of gain back that 5 weeks again. Have you guys put any more sort of thought toward that, or is that just a decision for a later date?
No, we are working on bringing in portable crushers. So, portable crushers typically around here, the ones that we've got currently on site for the civils, they're doing 10 tonnes an hour. They're really small. We need much bigger than that. So we can bring in a few crushers and we can start to sort of just move material over to the coarse ore stockpile. And we can do that a number of different ways. We can take run of mine and crush it at the mine site, basically directly into trucks and bring it up here to the coarse ore bin, or we can bring run of mine directly to the plant and we can crush it here in the coarse ore bin. So there's a number of options available to us. We're just waiting to see how these earthworks go so that we can get that main crusher in place, because that's obviously 200 plus tonnes an hour. So we really want to see that operational as soon as possible, which will mean that we've got the maximum amount of stockpile when that plant is available to start in October. The commissioning of the plant is actually going to start in July. All of our major long lead time items either have been delivered or are en route. The only thing that's been delayed as a result, we bought it in Turkey, was just some components of the main conveyor feeding system on the plant, and that's not going to arrive until early September at the latest. But other than that, everything will be here ready to go. So we're in pretty good shape, and if we just keep doing what we're doing, which is being dynamic, every time we face a problem, we solve a problem. I think we'll be able to bring that date in a little bit.
So
the one thing about this deposit is it keeps throwing up surprises. So, Matty's got his mine plan here where he's going to, go through X amount of development waste and development ore, and I reckon that ratio is going to change for the better. That's my bet.
There we go. So I'm keen to move on to the financial sort of side of things now. And I heard on a podcast, I think it must have been done about a year and a half ago, that once the project is online, it'll add 1.6% to Bosnia's entire country GDP. And in the latest presentation, I saw you guys have a corporate tax rate of 10% and sort of equivalent 1% NSR. How do you guys sort of weigh up that risk of the sort of goalpost changing once you guys are up and running? Like, I understand you've done a huge amount of work on the ESG front and building that sort of social license, but I'm keen to get your guys' thoughts on that.
Hopefully they don't take 50% like P&G do.
No, I don't think that's likely. Look, the royalty at the moment is based on per tonne of ore put through the plant, and it works out at about €2 per tonne of ore. So the total royalty per year is 1.6 million euros. That is not high enough. In any jurisdiction, that is not high enough. And it's logical to expect that at the 5-year renegotiation point, that's going to go up. And I don't think it's going to be a problem. I think it going up will add longer term value. We're going to be here for 20 years plus, and we've got to make sure we give enough back. So our sustainability programs deal with a lot of those things. But if you're an NGO that wants to pick on a mining project, that'd be a number I'd pick on and say, well, they're not giving enough back. So we know that that's going to increase, and we're not unhappy about it because it's quite frankly, it's minuscule. The 10% tax rate, well, that's obviously a federal issue, and that would affect all companies in Bosnia. Now, there is a global movement to see a minimum corporate tax rate of 15%. If that happens in my lifetime, I'll be surprised. So I don't expect Bosnia's corporate tax rate to change. But I do expect that royalty, that concession fee that we pay to the canton to go up, although I don't think it'll have a negative impact or a particularly negative impact on the project economics. But it will help us preserve our social licence here, which is quite frankly our biggest asset.
Great. So just one more on the sort of theme of financials.
And then the mining questions are coming. You get ready, Matty.
So when you guys announced with Orion the financing of the project in early 2022, there was reference to a $250 million potential facility that Orion might put forward for you guys to look at acquisitions, and you've sort of previously highlighted a European focus. Is this something that's still available, and what sort of opportunities have you looked at or are you looking at?
Yeah, Orion, in our original term sheet, there was a $250 million facility that would be available. It was quite loosely defined at that point in time, and we haven't really worked on better defining that because we're just busy focused on delivering cash flow from Rupica. But I think subsequent to that, we've had a lot of groups approach us suggesting that they'd like to work with us on potential acquisitions and offering to help fund those. So will we end up using that Orion facility? Probably not. And not because we're not looking at making acquisitions. We absolutely are. But we'll find there's probably cheaper sources of capital available to us, including our own profits.
Righto, Matty, it's mining time. You ready, Cobber?
I don't think I'll ever be ready for you. We'll try that.
As I said, you haven't got Travis, so you'll be right. I saw you had dramas with the decline. Can you give us a bit of insight, mate? Was it an unexpected bit of shit ground? Was it what was the go with it?
Well, we didn't have you here on a jumbo for a start, but all little things.
I'll be blowing them out like anything.
All little things. Well, look, and I guess to paint a picture and take a step back, where we're working, this is the first hard rock mine in this part of the world in over 30 years. And where we're working, I'll send you a photo after, altitude over a kilometre, minus 20 degrees Celsius in winter with plenty of snow. And it really is out in the wilderness. So we've got an intrepid team out there. And really this time last year, we didn't have a single cut of development. So we're well progressed now. Two declines to access the ore body. And we've seen the number of headings go from 2 up to about 6 in the last month, and we're about 38 metres away from the ore. And as you know, Matty, once you hit those footwalls and you turn out and you open up about 12 ore drives, the whole beast changes. So look, really proud of the team out there with the progress to date. Look, has been some poorer ground. I guess every time you go to a mine, they'll say poor ground. What's it mean? Our host rock in the ore is really good. So dolomite, 200 MPa. You'd run those high frequency drifters and see some good development rates. So
that's
we're
in
excited
the ore,
coming
did
to
you
that.
say?
In the ore, yeah.
Oh, that's handy.
Yeah,
then.
so alterated dolomite. We've got all the good gear, all the orange stuff, good power packs, good drifters, anything you'd see in the gold fields, which puts us in a really good spot. Obviously, additional headings will help. Look, the declines sedimentary, right, in the footwall. So sandstone, mudstone, limestone, chert, interbanded clays. The team's done a fantastic job of working through it. Capital development in the footwall only represents about 25% of the future life of mine development. Majority of those declines are in now, and as you know, over a 10-year life of mine, you chip away at them to open up future levels. So a lot of the hard, heavy lifting's done. We're in a really good position, and we expect to realise it in the next 3 months or so.
So have you got expat operators over there, or is it a local workforce for the underground side of things?
Yeah, look, my and Paul's accent is the exception. So we don't have a lot of expats. This is a Bosnian asset, and we want a Bosnian team to lead it. We do recognise that takes time. We need to bring in good teachers. It's interesting. I listened to the one you guys did with Bill and develop, and the number of resumes being thrown his way. It is amazing the number of ex-Yugoslav people throughout Australia, working out of Africa, who do want to come home to work. So that's who we're really targeting. We want a fully nationalised workforce within 3 years, but it's going to be an investment in our local people to get there. So look, we do have some expats, certainly on Adriatic side. I think you can count them on 2 hands at the moment. We're going to need a few more, particularly with the ramp up in production as we start opening up some open holes and get a paste plant up and going. But certainly not as many as you'd see on those fly-in-flight operations throughout Africa and other parts of the world.
Well, you just take a bit of Bill's secret sauce, mate. Just pay him shitloads more than everywhere else, and you'll have no dramas getting the CVs.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to change the sauce and get just as high quality people, which we are, without the pay. So,
good luck with that.
We do pay very well, not just direct but indirect. So the lifestyle you get here is pretty incredible. So close to the Adriatic coast, and we're actually popping off to Dubrovnik this weekend. So something you don't get to experience at all really in mining as a residential opportunity.
I think it's the only mine in the world where you can wake up in a European capital city, go for a ski in the morning, mine a stoke before lunch, and go to the beach in the afternoon.
It's a bit better than we get in the bloody Pilbara,
mate.
Hey, Matty, could you tell us a bit about the ore body and the proposed sequence and strategy? Because polymetallic is also you've got transverse stoping, you've got longitudinal stoping. Are you looking, is there primary, secondary method? Are we center out I guess how you're looking to control the stressing and de-stressing of the rock with these, which can be a problem with big polymetallic ore bodies, which is in layman's term, the ground can get very shit.
Yes, yeah. No, we all understand that term. I think, try to keep it high level. If you think of the ore body in a cross-section view, it's only, what we've defined is 300 metres deep at the moment. It's going to go deeper. So relatively shallow to the surface. At the top, sub-vertical and, 3 to 5 metres wide. So we'll look to do that as longitudinal stoping. Then it dilates in the middle, and that's where we'll go transverse, primary, secondary stopes. Nice thick levels, 25 metre sub-levels, high productive stopes, and then pinching out towards the bottom end, or not pinching out, just reducing from 15, 20 metres wide back down to about 5, but still open at depth. Look, paste will be our friend. Paul spoke through the benefits of the barite. It's dry stack tails here, so we'll be backhauling a lot of those tails to be used underground within the paste fill. really exciting. Pretty conventional, right? So most guys in mining would have seen this mining method before. So we're not breaking the rules or doing anything new. In terms of access, a dozen ore drives on a level, so it gives us operational flexibility in the schedule. Then looking at centre access, the stress won't be too big a issue. So particularly you think our footwall, the sedimentary deposit. We're in a pretty good position there. Not much seismicity, not much groundwater. So nice little mine to be able to kick off as the first one for Adriatic.
And how are you looking at employing with the paste fill? Top down, I guess, is your best method to, avoid having that sill intermediate level getting crushed by stress and being problematic, but it's usually more difficult to paste fill and you lose the potential for rock fill. Are you looking at bottom up at all or multiple mining fronts? Can you give us a bit of insight there? For all the engineers out there that just froth on that stuff.
You might just be the two on this call.
Yeah.
So I won't overindulge.
I've still got my engineering boots in the closet cover.
High level, mate, bit of both. This ore body gives us great opportunity and flexibility, right? So we're going to look at 3 different mining areas really to give us scheduling flexibility. Longitudinal open stoping at the top, right? So that'll obviously bottom up with a CRF or CAF equivalent. Through the guts of the ore body, absolutely paste. Top down there is a preference. It can be a bit of a bugger, as you know, coming in and working back on top of paste, all those type of things. But there are areas we can go bottom up too. So the geometry of the ore body provides us flexibility in each area, and the benefit of a paste plant, shotcrete plant, plenty of waste rock and plenty of dry tails is we can really have the benefit from an engineering function to pick and choose what works best in each area.
And have you got a good method for tight fill and top down stopes with paste fill? I always found that was the drama with primary, secondary was tight filling the primaries so there wasn't the big void up the top because getting the actual fill holes up there, is it something you're looking into for when it all gets happening?
Yeah, the guys are working through all that now. So we've got a pretty good methodology. Obviously the bottom part's relatively easy, right, with the fill hole, the breather and the wall. Like you said, it can be tough depending on your layout on that top level. How you get real tight in there, but we'll get you to site, Matty. So first stope end of this year, we'll be able to send through some photos. We'll come and see it in the flesh on how we propose to do it. So one thing I would say is we have some exceptionally talented people here. So I know in Australia it's bloody hard to get a mining engineer, a surveyor, a geologist, or anyone with a degree. And while there hasn't been a lot of hard rock mining in the Balkans or Bosnia for 30 years, there are some fantastic universities that kick out a lot of mining engineering geology grads. So we've really had our pick, and I'm super impressed at the level of talent that our business effectively has exclusive access to.
Well, mate, I'm getting better by the day at both the jumbo and engineering. Every day I'm out of it. So I'll lean back. The banker's itching to bloody ask his finance stuff. He's fallen asleep with the mining talk. So cheers for that, Matty. That was great, mate. I really appreciate the insight.
Guys, I've just got one more on mining in Europe, sort of in general. Do you guys have a take on how you sort of see this in, say, 5 or 10 years' time? Is it getting harder? Is it getting easier with the sort of need for these critical metals and the not wanting to actually, get the mines up and running? How do you guys sort of see that?
Look, mate, the European Union are making sweeping changes at the moment with respect to the way they want the mining industry and the primary production of metals to contribute to the economy, including putting up a €2 billion fund to basically advance assets across the region. They're going to bring in legislation at the national level which limits permitting to 2 years. Right? This is a paradigm shift in European mining, and it's being done because Europe doesn't want to be reliant on Russia and China for its raw materials or Africa. It's happy to rely on the US, it's happy to rely on Australia, and you'll see some preferred arrangements put in place there. But the messaging that we're getting from all of the European governments is really clear. Come and do exploration here. Or we've got some old assets we'd like you to have a look at. So we think this is a fantastic time to be building a team that can develop assets in a European context, not just in a European geography, because it is different. Europeans look at things differently by virtue of the fact it's a continent of villages and towns where you're never far from a population centre. And you've got to consider that in all of your mine design and thinking. And so I think Adriatic's in a great position to be able to capitalise on that paradigm shift. And I think the team that we're developing here, these young, very bright engineers and geos and environmental scientists, are going to be incredibly valuable to this company as it looks to expand its operations into other jurisdictions in Europe.